aimlessness, which at the time seemed like the most prominent negative feature on my horizon. But after a few years of failing to find meaning in the more commonly recommended venues, I learned that I could find it in geology, so I did. This in turn enabled me to find meaning in the Episcopal litany, and most acutely in these very words. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Which I interpreted as a literal description of the constant changing of the earth, the unending erosion of the shores and mountains, the inexorable shifting of the geological structures that could throw up mountains and islands and could just as reliably take them away. No eye was on the sparrow. No one was watching me. After the book was published, many people asked me if my view had not changed, it had been modified, if what I had been through had not offered me a more comforting version of the meaning of life and death. Whenever I'm asked this question, I consider the solace I found in geology, in its promise that the world will change, but also continue. And do I still find that solace? How about those river views from those ICUs, huh? Those eddies, those tidal bores, those currents, those flows. If those aren't about geology, what are they about? As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Do we get more comfort than that? We all know that if we are to live ourselves, there comes a time when we must relinquish the dead. Let them go. Keep them dead. Let them become the photograph on the table. Let them become the name on the trust accounts. Let go of them in the water. And knowing this does not make it any easier to let go of them in the water. I did not want the year after either of them died to end. I knew that as the second year began and the days passed that certain things would happen. That my image of them at the instant of death would become something that happened in another year. And that my sense of John and Quintana themselves, John and Quintana alive, would become more remote, softer, transmuted into whatever might best serve my life without them. In fact, this is already happening. For once in your life, just let it go. During the years when people still left Honolulu on the Matson lines, the custom at the time of departure was to throw lace on the water, a promise that the traveler would return. The lace would get caught in the wake and get bruised and go brown. Lace go brown. Tectonic plates shift. Deep currents change. I think about bringing her home from St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica and placing her in the bassinet that overlooked the point where the sea ran into the cave into which we never again swam after the day we brought her home. One more improvised way of keeping her from drowning. You're safe. I'm here. And John checked on her every few minutes just to make sure she was breathing. And when she was 5 days old, he christened her himself Innocent, just in case she didn't live long enough to do the ceremony. But she did live that long. She lived long enough to stand up in her black dress at John's funeral and say, I love you more Then even one more day, as you used to say to me. Maybe she did. Maybe he did. And I think about swimming with him into that cave and the swell of clear water and how it changed. And the swiftness and power it gained as it narrowed through the rocks at the base of the point. And the tide had to be just right. And we had to be in the water at the very moment the tide was right. And we could only have done this half a dozen times at most during the 2 years we lived there. But it's what I remember. And each time we did it, I was afraid of missing the swell, hanging back, timing it wrong. He never was. You had to feel the swell change. You had to go with the change. He told me that. No eye is on the sparrow, but he did tell me that.